Hi there, my name is Nils with Learn to DIY, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at whether it makes sense for you to make the switch to battery-operated lawn tools. Now before I get too far into this, I do want to mention that this is not a sponsored video. These are all products that I purchased with my own money, and I just wanted to upgrade and have a better experience, so I did a lot of research, a lot of homework, talked to some different people, and read a lot of reviews to find out what was the right set of tools for my yard for me. I ended up settling with the Ego set, that's EGO, and I'll put links down in the description for each of these so you can purchase these yourself if you're interested. And then this was actually a really good decision. I've actually been using this all through the spring, the summer, and now into the fall. And so I wanted to make sure I had at least a full season of experience with these before making a review and kind of letting you know pros and cons of going with a battery-operated lawn tool set. So like most of you, there were probably 4 features or 4 sets of things that were important for me to look at when exploring the options here with these lawn tools. The first one was price. I wanted to make sure I could get something that I could afford. Second one, I wanted to make sure these batteries in here would actually last long enough to do my whole yard. I have a third of an acre and most of it is lawn, so I wanted to make sure that that was doable. The third one was power. I wanted to make sure that there was actually plenty of power for some of the thicker bits of grass, for mowing in some of the rough areas and things like that, especially with the string trimmer and the blower. Those needed to be powerful, and I wanted to see that the battery could handle it and the motors were strong enough to do everything I needed it to do, just like I had done prior with my gas-powered motors. And then fourth and final was features. There's a lot of cool new things that are available on lawn tools today, and so I wanted to check some of those out and make sure they could do some of the things that I would hope they would do, as opposed to just being a flat basic tool that would just do the bare minimum. Now first, the lawnmower itself. This is the Ego Power. It's a self-propelled lawnmower. It comes in 2 varieties. You've got self-propelled and a push mower. I'm coming from a push mower, so having self-propelled was definitely an upgrade, but I thought it was $100 difference. I thought, let me just go ahead and do this so I don't regret that later, and it's been awesome. The self-propeller is fully powerful. It's got it's got variable speeds here, and the fastest one actually goes quite fast. So if I pull this little trigger here, it goes pretty quickly. And because it can handle it, that's actually what I usually use, is the full speed. If you go on the slowest setting, it goes nice and slow. So you've got everything in between there as well. It does come with a bag if you want to collect your clippings, and you can attach that on there. I'm more of a mulch guy. I like to have it mulch for itself, and it does that just fine. I don't see little clippings all over the place in the grass. I can use the lawn right after we mow, and it just mulches everything up just fine, so I don't end up with grass all over me, which is great. The batteries on these things are awesome. On this mower, you've got a 7.5 amp hour 56 volt battery. This thing is pretty massive. It does a great job. It's huge. It's well built and engineered. It's even got some ventilation in here. It snaps in really easily, and it's all enclosed in this little container that just snaps closed. So I push this in, and off it goes. So again, about $500 for the self-propelled version for this. At least that's the price I paid earlier this year, and I believe it was about $400 or $399 US for the push mower version. So that's the price on it. It's a lot. I'm not going to lie, that's quite a chunk of change that you'd be handing out in order to get this. And I felt like I'm just going to get the whole system and do this once and hopefully have it for years to come. So that's up to you whether you think that's a reasonable amount or not. As far as the power for this thing, it's awesome. I've had no power issues whatsoever. It really handles just like my regular Honda push mower did with the gas engine. And it does a great job. I've not come across any time where it's stalled or struggled or had any issues like that. So it's been awesome. Now for the battery, this thing does an awesome job. I mean, it lasts easily through my 1/3 acre lawn. I'll show that in just a minute here. It just takes care of it no problem. I have not had this run out on me unless it wasn't charged beforehand. My son sometimes mows other people's lawns and has a tendency to bring them back with a half-charged battery. So other than that, though, it's not been a problem. And better than that is the fact that if I do run out of battery and one of my other tools has battery, I can just swap this out. And even these smaller guys, these are 2.5 amp hour batteries. They clip in and I'm ready to go. It also has, as far as features, it's got headlights on it, which is really nice. I have mowed at night before. One thing I heard prior was that electric lawnmowers are so quiet you can mow at 5 a.m. or at midnight and it's not going to wake up your neighbors or bother anybody. In my opinion, that's not true. They're still quite loud. There's still a lot of cutting and grass movement going on in there. The airflow is loud. The motors are relatively loud, honestly. I don't think it's as loud as a gas lawnmower, but it's not like this super quiet, amazing thing. So just keep that in mind. But the headlights are really handy. I have mowed at night. It's pretty nice to have. Another thing I love on this is that it folds up nice and small. So all you have to do is clip out and in, grab the handle, and then the whole thing sits like that. Not much to it. It's really heavy. It's not light by any stretch of the imagination, so it's not a one-handed operation thing to carry it around, but I can snake this around my car even while my car is in the garage, which is really nice. I suspect if you wanted to, you could even do a hook for it and hang it up on your garage wall as long as that's secured into a stud. And then one other thing I love about this is how easy it is to adjust the height. Now I keep mine at the same all season long. I keep it at a 2 on this, which is actually fairly tall, and that way I keep my grass fairly long and it provides shade for itself so it's not crisped by the sun quite as easily. But check out how easy it is to move the height on this. So that's 1. All the way up to 5, which is super tall. That's if you're just doing maybe some brush cutting through some really rough areas or something like that. But 1 handle, and that's it. All 4 wheels, all at the same time. Love that feature. Very nice. Now, absolutely my favorite feature on this mower is the self-mowing feature. I mean, how cool is this? This thing just goes all by itself. It goes in reasonably straight lines, and it's just an amazing technology. I mean, look at this thing go. I mean, coming right at me. You don't have to tell it what to do. It goes in these beautiful straight lines-ish. Yeah, okay, so it's got a few setbacks and maybe not the best, and it's totally fake. And I put a clamp on the little accelerator handle thing, but still pretty cool. Now, one thing I do want to mention about the lawnmower that I really don't love is there is a lag or a delay when you use the self-propelled feature. So when I hit this little button up here, you almost saw it there, right? So I click it, and then it just waits a second or two. And when you're in the rhythm and you're going, and especially when you're zigging and zagging back and forth in the lawn, sometimes that's kind of a pain in the neck. You have to learn to time that and actually hit the trigger a little bit before you're ready to go. So I click, you wait a second, and then it goes. So again, not a huge deal, but just something to be aware of. And I remember having self-propelled lawnmowers growing up, and they didn't seem like they had that issue with the gas mowers, but it could just be me. Not a big one, but all in all, really happy with this purchase, and I've kind of really just been loving having this. And part of it for me was the upgrade from push mower to a self-propelled mower, but just putting the battery in there, no gas, no spark plugs, no maintenance, no worrying about mixtures if you ever have to deal with that kind of thing. This is just easy. It just works really well, it's convenient, and it does everything my gas mower did and then some. So very happy with this one. So that's the lawnmower in a nutshell. It's a pretty great machine. Now, next up is the blower. This is the 530 CFM battery operated blower. It's got, again, a 2.5 amp hour battery in it. Also charges really quickly, less than 30 minutes to do this one. And the thing I like about this one is it's just super powerful. I've not ever had any issues with how long the battery has lasted or anything like that. The power's been astounding. It's been way better than what I would have expected. And you can kind of go by that feet per minute there, the CFM. But this, I've actually had 2 other blowers before, one battery operated and one plug-in, and this thing just really kicks their butts. I mean, this thing is pretty great. So at its lowest setting, which is what I've got it on right now, not bad, but then you can crank it all the way up, and then you can even go to turbo. I'll give you a little feel for what that looks like. Let's see. Yeah, it's strong. Now, the price on this one was $179. There's actually several different options for the blower itself. You can get some that are a little bit less strong as far as the cubic feet per minute and that are more strong. You can also get a backpack blower. There are several options. A lot of them do come with the 2.5 amp hour battery and the charger as well, and there's a couple that you can buy just as the standalone tools. So for $179, that's actually pretty comparable to what you'll find for gas blowers and other things like that. Definitely a worthwhile investment in my opinion. The one thing, again, very similar to this one that I don't love about it is there is a lag. So when I click this button, let's take a look here. So I click, there's a delay, and then it starts. I don't know if that's a safety thing or what it is, but you can hear it just kind of sitting there for about a second, and then it starts up and then the fan goes. And again, I don't have a lot of experience with this with other tools if they're doing the same thing with gas versions and things, but there's just a lag there. Not a huge deal. To me, it's more of a pain in the neck on the mower than it is on this, but just that lag to be aware of. Now the third and final piece I want to show you is the string trimmer. Now there again are multiple options that you can buy from Ego on this as well as from other brands. On this one I chose to go with the carbon fiber shaft to make it lighter and stronger, and then it also has the self-feed trimmer head, which is really cool. I'll show you that in just a second. Definitely an awesome feature. So starting with price, this thing runs $229 US. So it's a lot of money, I think, for a string trimmer, but it does have a brushless motor. It comes with the battery, the charger, the whole 9 yards, everything that you need. Comes with string as well, and then you can buy some additional string for you for later purposes. Now as far as my first criteria, that being the power of this thing is awesome. I have another battery powered string trimmer from Black & Decker, and this thing just eats that one up. It will cut through dirt, it will cut through grass, it will cut through strong weeds, it will cut through thick stemmed weeds with, you know, an inch circumference or an inch diameter stem or base on them. I mean, this thing is just a monster. Super strong. It is variable speed, so the trigger is sensitive to how far you push it, and it's got a brushless motor on it, so it handles things really well without overheating or causing any issues down the road. So definitely very strong. The battery is fantastic. Again, I'm on a 1/3 acre. I have curbing all over. I have lots of edges to trim around. I have sidewalk and street park strip to trim. I use this as an actual edger as well. So I turn it upside down and let it do a vertical line, and it handles that beautifully. So definitely a really powerful thing. Battery lasts wonderfully, and this 2.5 amp hour battery on here charges again in less than 30 minutes. And so even if I did need to use it for another yard or additional work or something like that, it can handle that really quickly. As far as features are concerned, the favorite thing I have on this one is this little auto feed here. All right, I've got to kind of show off this auto feed feature here. This is so cool. So I've just removed all of the string from this just so I can show this, and this is all there is to it. I'm using some Oregon square Magnum Gator line stuff. This stuff is awesome. It's got a square end on it, and then it's got a wire core in it, so it works really well. It's very rough and cuts through just about everything. So all I have to do is push one end through here. It comes out the other side. I'm going to center it so that I have the same amount coming out of both sides, and that's pretty simple to do, just like that. Okay, so this is all set. Now all I have to do is literally push this button and let it go. Sucking it all up into the head, winding it itself. And I stop when I get to a kind of a regular length here. This one's a little long, but it's got the blade, it'll chop it off, just like this. Okay. And that's that. That's how easy it is to wind this thing. And when you run out, it spits out the last bit of it at the very end. You put a new piece in, you're done in about a minute, no problem. I tap the bottom and it auto feeds out just as you would expect it to, and it works wonderfully. I actually had an auto feed mechanism on my prior battery operated string trimmer, and it was kind of a nightmare. I was always having to take the thing apart, manually pull it out, and just deal with it. This one just works just as you would expect it to be. Just a nice little bump feed, tap the grass, a little more comes out. It self-chops to the right length if you get a little extra, and then you're good to go, and that's that. Now, no tool is perfect. One thing I really wish this had, and a feature that I actually had on my last battery-operated trimmer, was the ability to reverse the head and to have a wheel on the back of it for edging. So with this one, if I'm just doing my regular edging like this, everything works great just as expected. What I end up doing though is kind of turning it over and then holding it a little bit awkwardly like this in order to do the edging as I walk along. And it handles it really well, but it's just kind of a manual procedure. I'd love to have a wheel on there where I could just roll it along the sidewalk or the curb and have it do that for me. So that about does it. Thanks so much for watching today. I hope you learned a few things about how these tools work, what some of their pros are, and what some of the cons are as well. All in all, in my opinion, I'd say if you have enough money to be able to buy these, go for it. It's a good investment. They're going to work well for you. I've had literally 0 issues with these in the full season, the full year that I've had them, and they've just been great. So I think you'll love it as much as I do. One last thing I want to mention on these is there are a whole series of tools that you can get with these. I was just looking at snow blowers, for example, backpack blowers, different things that you can get, all with these interchangeable battery sets. So Ego is a brand that I would definitely say I trust and I'm very happy with, and I think you will be too. If you want to learn more about some of our Learn to DIY videos, you can check out the rest of the channel. Feel free to subscribe if you want to get updates. You can also follow us on Instagram or Facebook to get kind of behind the scenes and in between video updates on what we're up to. We mostly focus on projects around the yard and in the house as well. Building, fixing, DIYing. So thanks so much for watching. My name is Nils, and we'll see you next time.